IDFC First Bank has swiftly risen to prominence in India's competitive banking sector in just 5 years.
Let's talk about IDFC First Bank.
IDFC First Bank.
IDFC First Bank numbers as well.
IDFC First Bank.
Hello everyone, I'm Sejal Agrawal, a research analyst at Desvelado Advisory, and today we will be diving deep into the remarkable growth of IDFC First Bank in just 5 years. IDFC First Bank is a new age universal bank in India built on the foundations of ethical banking, digital banking, and social good banking. The bank has financed over 40 million in the social area theme, and as a technology-led bank, the bank has built a modern technology stack and has built an advanced mobile app with 250 plus features and a universal bank. It offers end-to-end corporate banking, trade finance, treasury products, SME banking, wealth management, NRI banking, etc. Despite this success, the company sought a banking license to lower its funding cost as banks typically pay less interest on the current and savings account. Obtaining a banking license in India is really challenging, so Capital First pursued a merger on acquisition with a bank to transition smoothly into banking functions. On the other hand, IDFC, established in 1997, focused on funding infrastructure projects and later ventured into asset management and institutional broking. Despite obtaining a banking license in 2014, IDFC Bank's loan book was heavily skewed towards wholesale loans, with 90% being corporate loans and only 10% retail. To succeed, the bank needed to grow its retail segment. This strategic need led to the merger with Capital First, creating IDFC First Bank in December 2018. Post-merger, IDFC Bank faced several challenges, like low CASA ratio at 8.68%, low net interest margin at 1.9%, low pre-provisioning operating profits at 0.32%, retail deposit accounted for only 8.4% of total deposits, while the rest being institutional deposits and borrowings. Large exposure to infrastructure and corporate loans were a point of concern for bank. The bank has an extensive network of 809 branches, 249 asset service centers, 925 ATMs, and 606 rural business correspondent centers. Now, the major segments that are contributing majorly to the revenue of the bank includes the retail banking, which constitutes lending to individual or business banking customers. Revenue of the retail banking segment are derived from interest earned on retail loans, inter-segment revenue, and fee from services rendered, fee on client FX and derivative. As of 2024, IDFC First Bank's market share is 1.20% of total bank credit, which improved from 1.13% last year. Next is treasury, which contributes to around 26% revenue of the bank. Corporate or wholesale banking contributes 11.47% of the total revenue generated by the bank. IDFC First Bank is heavily involved in digital initiatives, with 95% of overall transactions being digital, 58% year-on-year growth in credit card spend, 39% year-on-year growth in debit card spend. Now, if we talk about the condition of deposit growth in bank, it showed a strong growth and 5-year CAGR of 37% in total consumer deposit. Increase in CASA deposits with a CAGR of 64% in 5 years. This increase is beneficial for the bank as it would reduce its interest expense, as banks do not have to pay interest on current accounts, and also the bank reduced its interest rate on savings account to only 3% for the balances up to rupees 1 lakh, which would also contribute towards reducing the interest expense of bank.
The newspaper reports came out that net profit for the quarter is down 10% over the last year. I just want to clarify that last year when we reported a profit of 801 crore, we clearly pointed out that we had a one-time treasury gain by some off-market transactions, which gave us that kind of profit. The true profit was 700 crore. So against that, actually PAT has gone up in a like-to-like basis, and a year-on-year basis, our PAT is up 24%. If you take out the treasury income, which we really don't bank upon, and nobody can ever bank upon, our PAT is up 28% over last year. So I think this one clarity I want to leave out to you.
Also, the bank has performed well in the transformation of the liability portfolio by incrementally replacing the institutional borrowing and deposits by granular retail deposit. Retail deposits were only 8% of the total deposits and borrowings in 2018, which is now improved to 60%. As already stated that the bank has a DFI background, the legacy borrowings are costing the bank 8.9%, and the bank plans to replace this with low-cost deposits. And to simulate, if the bank replaces all the high-cost legacy borrowings with cost of funds, the ROI for 2024 would be higher by 95 basis points. Talking about the loan section, bank has a diversified loan book across 25 business lines with the highest contribution from the mortgage loans, which is around 29%, which majorly includes home loan, loan against property. At the time of merger, the bank had high CD ratio because it was largely funded with bonds, borrowings, and bonds and borrowings are equally stable money as deposit, as they are repayable on the maturity dates. So the bank has been continuously raising more deposits than loan disbursed on an incremental basis, which is continuously reducing the CD ratio. Now throwing lights on bank's profitability and capital, bank showed 30% year-on-year growth in net interest income during FY24 against the balance sheet growth of 23%. Bank experienced 31% year-on-year growth in core operating profits during FY24. Also, the loan book has grown at a 5-year CAGR of 13%. Also, the bank has improved the core pre-provisioning operating profit despite investment in growing the bank. This was made possible as the retail lending business is profitable with more than 20% incremental ROE. Bank has turned profitable on sustained basis based on strong operating profits and low credit cost. The bank posted 6 quarters of losses consecutively in FY19 and FY20. Now, if we focus on the achievement of Guidance 1, which was given by the bank during the time of the merger, in terms of capital, the CET1 ratio has remained above the targeted threshold, indicating strong capital base, and the overall capital adequacy ratio is on track and exceeds the guidance with 16.11% in 2024, reflecting the robust financial health. Also, the bank has significantly improved its CASA ratio from 8% to 47% in 2024, indicating higher proportion of low-cost deposits. The bank has expanded its branch network extensively, surpassing the upper range of its guidance with 944 branches in 2024 compared to only 206 branches in 2018. Coming to the management, annual report shows an increase of 3% in remuneration of MD and CEO, 14% increase in remuneration of CFO, and 18% increase in remuneration of head, legal and company secretary. Talking about the strengths of the bank, it has a strong capitalization profile. Bank has a CET1 ratio around 13.36% and CRAR at 16%, slightly down from 2023 due to increased risk weights on certain loans. The major challenge faced by IDFC First Bank is higher cost of fund compared to the private sector average. Talking about the industry shows economic growth with a projection of $7 trillion economy by 2030, with a significant portion of this growth driven by consumption, and the Indian credit market is expected to grow from around 2 trillion to 6 trillion over the next decade with 20% CAGR, and this growth is anticipated to be fueled by increased demand for credit. Now, the key trends and challenges in the industry includes the technological advancements.
So when we imagine banking or when we talk about banking, what comes to your mind is people like me in suits or an ATM or a branch or a checkbook. I think that's the classical world as banking existed in the yesteryears. In today's world, when we talk about banking, we are talking about mobile apps, the ability to do transactions digitally, the ability to sit out of a home and do whatever you want.
Now, future outlook of the industry is that the Indian government and regulatory bodies are emphasizing financial inclusion, aiming to provide banking solutions to underserved population. The trend towards digital banking is expected to continue.
बटुआ ढूंढ रहे हैं डिजिटल पेमेंट अपनाइए कभी भी कहीं भी और सुरक्षित हमने तो इन्हें डिजिटल पेमेंट करना सिखा दिया.
Now let's discuss some important catalysts that would boost the growth of the bank and its revenue. which includes that the bank is focusing on expanding its retail lending portfolio, which is anticipated to be a significant driver of growth. Targeting the MSME sector presents a substantial opportunity for growth as the government emphasizes support for small businesses, and the bank can leverage this trend by offering tailored financial products and services to this segment, thereby increasing their loan book and revenue. The bank's investment in digital banking and technology is a critical catalyst for growth by enhancing customer experience through digital channels, streamlining operations, and reducing costs. Now, the P&L analysis shows that the bank demonstrated substantial revenue growth driven by increased interest income and other income sources. However, rising operating costs by 33% year-on-year, particularly related to employee expense and branch expansion, have impacted the net margins with a decline of 11% in 2024. Operating cash flow shows continuous decline, but a recovery in operating cash flow in 2024 suggests better management of operational liquidity and improvement in cash generation from core business activity. Banks focus on expansion and capital investment, while no dividend payment aligns with a growth-oriented strategy aimed at enhancing shareholder value over the long term. And the bank's decision to retain all its earnings and reinvest them into the growth initiatives appears to be paying off, as evidenced by the significant increases in the gross PAT of around 18% in 2024 and 32% in 2023. The substantial increase in capex in 2024 of around 32% indicates a proactive approach to expand the operations and enhance the service offering, which is crucial for sustaining long-term competitiveness. And despite lower operating cash flows in 2022 and 2023, the bank's financial health seems improving, supported by increasing profitability and strategic investment decisions. Now, the balance sheet analysis shows a positive trajectory for bank with growth in revenue majorly in 2023, improvement in operating cash flow, followed by continuous increase in reserves with 29%. Also, the bank is having no long-term debt and relying on retained earnings to further invest in expansion of branches and growth of bank, which led to increase in CWIP by 177% in 2023, and the rising trend in CWIP as a percentage of gross block indicates that the bank has been actively investing in new projects or capital expenditure. Strong growth in deposits continuously with 19% in 2022 and 36% in 2023, even during the time of COVID and after reducing interest rates on saving accounts, shows a good brand image of bank and building a fantastic product, transparent and clean way of charging fee. And also the future focus of bank is still to raise the deposit to set their ETB and to use these deposits to repay their legacy liabilities up till FY25 and 26, and then the pressure of increasing deposit on bank would be reduced, and also these deposits would be used for fund growth of the bank. Now, the bank's growth in advances and deposit market share reflect improved market penetration and customer acquisition efforts, but compared to banking industry, the bank share is very small, which shows a significant opportunity for growth. Also, the loan industry is so big and it creates a lot of scope for bank to increase its share. In summary, within a time span of 5 years, bank is able to make its place in the market and should show continued focus on innovation, digital transformation and customer-centric strategies, as it will be crucial for maintaining and enhancing its market leadership across these segments. Also, it is a positive indicator that the net income of the bank is increasing by 18% in 2024, and also the major share of revenues coming from the core business of the bank. In summary, the bank's journey over the past 5 years is a testament to its strategic vision, operational efficiency, and commitment to growth and innovation. The bank's focus on retail banking, digital transformation, strong risk management practices will likely continue to drive its success in the future. As the bank moves forward, it remains focused on achieving its future guidance targets and maintaining its growth trajectory, making it a compelling player in the Indian banking landscape. So if you found this analysis insightful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your network, and don't forget to subscribe for more such insights on top companies and industry trends. Leave a comment with your thoughts on IDFC First Bank's growth prospects or any questions you have, and we would love hearing from you. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.